everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you all for tuning in, and for those of you that tuned in on Facebook Live, this initially went out as an exclusive for those of you that have Facebook, that have liked the Facebook page. It is one of our strongest social media presence out there, and we wanted to reward that. We had our first ever breaking news exclusive that went out about an hour and a half ago, and it was an exclusive episode with an exclusive interview that you will hear now, but make sure that you have liked the Facebook page, Facebook.com/fanshowofficial, that you have followed us on Twitter, which is our next strongest presence out there on social media. And some of you are saying, well, one has 2,000, the other has 7,000. But Facebook is where it's at, trust me. Until we have a fully functional website that is everything that I've ever dreamed it could be, Facebook is where the action is. We will, of course, share and retweet everything on Twitter and share everything that we can on the Instagram. But we are limited both as far as how long of a video you can post on Twitter and how long of a video you can post on Instagram. And of course the links, you can only do one link in your bio on Instagram, and that's really frustrating. So Facebook is the flagship social media platform for the show, and we wanted to reward those of you that have helped us get over 2,000 likes since the show started. And so we went and had an exclusive, and you guys will hear that exclusive now. It is the new commissioner of the Indoor Football League announced today, Todd Tryon, former owner of the Sioux Falls Storm. I am super excited about this new chapter in the Indoor Football League's history and what the future holds for the league. So without further ado, any more delay, make sure that you are subscribed and that you like and that you love and that you share all the content that is the Fan Show. And you can hear this in podcast form now on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and, of course, iHeartRadio, and where we broadcast live from every Tuesday and Thursday, which is Spreaker.com. So here is the new commissioner, Todd Tryon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now, fresh off the breaking news that happened just earlier today, it is the new Indoor Football League commissioner, Todd Tryon. Welcome, Mr. Tryon. How are you today?
Well, Richard, I'm outstanding. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It is always a privilege and a pleasure to get the brains behind the operation on the show. And now we have sort of a new frontier venturing 2020 IFL. You are the new commissioner, former Sioux Falls Storm owner. I don't know how the transition from owner to commissioner goes, but I'm sure you're more than happy to enlighten how this whole thing may have transpired.
Well, it kind of was a blur for me. I've had the opportunity to be involved in the indoor football game for 20 years. It was 5 as a player, 4 as a coach, and in the last 11 years as the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm. And, I'd made a decision here. It was actually at the championship game and kind of leading into it. My wife and I our fall schedule, our spring schedule had always been dictated by the Storm schedule. And we got kids that are, the 5th, 6th, and 8th grade. And, we're busy business owners on top of the Storm, and we just felt that, after being in ownership this long, that and especially after the win there in Arizona and one of the greatest sports experiences of my life, that we felt it was time to find the right family and just pass on the torch. And so as we did that, I notified my partners that I was getting out and I was selling the team. It was really at that point that we knew that Mike was also looking at moving on, and just the transition ended up being, kind of the right move that Mike was looking at getting out. And I was recruited to come in, and that's kind of how it went down.
Wow, just like that. And here you are. You've been given the keys to the castle, as they say, and we're anxiously awaiting, of course, a schedule. But before the schedule, the remaining IFL teams, I understand you probably have your plate rather full right now. Is there anything that you can tell us as far as what the remainder of this week has in store, as well as the upcoming weeks for the IFL fans to get excited for?
Yeah, absolutely. We got about 24 hours here to get a couple last-minute teams across the finish line. it may or may not happen. I don't know. There's boxes that they got to check and fees that they got to pay. And, we feel good about some of them. We feel the growth of the IFL is definitely in effect. And so what happens is we have a director's call tomorrow afternoon, just kind of a wrap up of what our team list looks like, and make sure everybody's got their dates in and all those types of things. And then we will proceed with our schedule. Kathy there from Green Bay does an outstanding job of putting the schedule together every year, and she's dealing with multiple teams with multiple dates, and it's quite a jigsaw puzzle she has to put together. But usually by the middle of next week, you get your first draft out, and by the end of the week, you try to have the full schedule to be able to publish. But it just depends if people lose dates and those types of things. There's a lot of variables that go along and then putting the schedule out. But the goal is always the middle of October.
Yeah, middle of October seems to be that particular window. Now, there are rumors that the actual season might start a little later. I mean, normally it's the end of February, but a few people have said March. Is there any truth to that, or do you have to wait till the actual schedule is, pretty much processed, drafted, and done before you can say anything like that?
That we are looking at moving it back in a couple weeks, and a lot of it has to do with arena availability. Just teams struggle to. There's a lot of, you're dealing with hockey, and you're dealing with basketball, and you're dealing with state tournaments, and you're dealing with a lot of things that are into February, early March, and so us Midwest teams. I mean, we always want to start that season early and get done early, and the Southern teams, they want to start as late as they can and go as late into the summer as they can, and this has just been the common compromise. And it's funny, I was tagged on a Facebook post of a game in 2001 where the Cobras, that was what the Storm was their first year, were playing a team out of Lincoln, and our first home game then was April 7th. And so I feel like our schedule is getting back to the time it was 20 years ago. But we're looking at backing up 2 weeks and finish the championship game being I believe the third weekend of July. Don't quote me on that, but that's kind of the goal at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a very good compromise. Obviously, it's hard to get things ironed out for the summer. Summer is such an active time of year for a lot of people. But I will be the first to say that if we can avoid championships in Phoenix, Arizona during the month of July, that would be great. It was a hot one down there, as I'm sure you can attest to.
It was absolutely hot. Yes,
yeah, very hot. So for you, as commissioner, is what does your workload compare to as far as what you do right now? Granted, you're very much in the infancy of being commissioner, but I'm sure you've had a little bit of a taste. Maybe you got to see some behind the scenes before you actually took the role, as it compared to being an owner for a team, a very successful team.
So understand, as the owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, when I took that team over at that time, we built a gym operation. We had 10 24-hour gyms that I was general manager running all those and owned and operated all those. And I took on the Storm, and we had a massive supplement company that we had over 7,500 distributors that, we're involved with. And I had 3 kids under the age of 4. And so I look back at that time and I'm like, man, if we can get through that time, you can get through anything. And so, walking into the commissioner's side, it's like anything. It's time management. It's being disciplined on what your daily schedule looks like. And, my day is spent right now. It's been recruiting and getting some of these expansion teams over the finish line, as well as taking care of our current teams. I feel like I relate, the current members of our league right now. I relate them to when we're building a gym business is the easiest way to grow is take care of who you got. And sometimes I feel like in the past that was, you just, what you have, you take for granted and you're always focused on the new. And my goal here over the next 12 months is really focus on our current members and take care of them and get them to a profitable state, because that's the way we grow is we don't have to want to be replacing anybody come 2021.
Yeah. To grow organically is the idea. I believe you were someone that told me that earlier, that, in fact, it was just announced that the NAL CIF partnership or merger, whatever you want to call it, has fallen through. And, for years we've talked about the fans and media, teams, players, what have you, about the idea of a CIF IFL merger, but I understand that you sort of have your own thoughts on why a merger is not necessarily the greatest idea when it comes to giving the fans what they want, which is more teams, a more competitive field and things like that. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, my thoughts on the matter is, number one, if you're going to create a merger or a partnership or however you want to word it, it's almost like you got to start now for 2021. To sit here and try to pull a merger together in August, September. There's just so many moving parts when you're talking different demographics, you're talking different rules, you're talking, just different types of leadership, different personalities. And I think that's one of the biggest issues when you sit here and deal with other owners is there are so many different personalities and everybody's in this for their own reason. And, so I believe that, growing it organically is the smartest, best way for the future. I was involved in 2009 when they merged the UIF and they merged the Intense Football League and ultimately the AF2, and we blossomed into 26 teams. And what happened is you just have a lot of ownership groups that don't see things the same way as others, and the weak links start falling off, and now you start dwindling, and now you lose identity, and now you're spread out all throughout the United States, and you lost the bridges. And that's ultimately why some of these regional leagues then broke away and formed and started up. And so, I wasn't surprised to see those two leagues merge, and I'm not surprised to see it not happen. Both of those leagues have some outstanding ownership groups within inside of it. I've been involved on both sides of it, and, we wish those two leagues nothing but luck, or nothing but the best, because, the bottom line is they represent our industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize what league you're in or this or that. And so, you never want to see a black eye in our industry because it reflects on all of us.
Yeah, that's very true. A lot of people don't see that finer detail. In fact, Jose Jefferson, who I had on a couple of weeks ago when they were announcing that the partnership was done and that it was official, he said he loved the idea as long as they could make it happen. He said the hardest thing is making it happen because, them to be successful means that the indoor football world is successful. And so I hate to see a step back like this today. However, onward and upward, the IFL is obviously concerned about itself and growing, as you mentioned, organically. So we have several new teams that have been announced, some that are still yet to be announced from what I hear. And then, of course, the schedule to follow shortly after. Is commissioner something that you aspired to be, or was it did it kind of happen by accident? Like, how long have you entertained the idea of maybe you're the guy that should be, at the top of the food chain, seeing how things are going?
Yeah, I had zero desire to become commissioner of the league. I mean, that was not, that's not the goal, but it's crazy how you sit here and you go through life and you go through experiences and everything is preparing you for something. And you don't know what it is. And, I've had a lot of leadership development through my supplement company and through owning businesses and dealing with people, that put me in a position that when the opportunity came about, I was like, yeah, I guess, that would be a good next move. And, so directly answer your question, it was not until mid-September where I even had interest in the position. I didn't know it was going to be available. And, when it became available, it was something that, I'm going to see what the opportunity looks like to know what I'm saying yes or no to. And that's really what's gone on here over the past, week or so is just making sure this is, what's best for me and my family. And, making sure I can do this at the level it should be done. Mike did an outstanding job running our league the past 7 to 10 years, and he's laid a very solid foundation that I'm excited to have the opportunity to build on it.
Yeah, I think obviously, to say that Mike didn't do a good job is just to be naive because, Mike, however you want to describe him as a man who was, just the guy in a suit where the buck stopped at, or he was a yes man, or he was a great commissioner, whatever your interpretation of his time with the league was still the league under his control and under his, leadership. And I think it did very well. Obviously, we had a downtime when it was just 6 teams, but of course now it has since rebounded and it looks to be onward and upward, and I don't think that would have been possible with him. And so now that we are without him and we're turning the page to a new chapter for the Todd Tryon era, what is something that I guess, if we're thinking of this along the same lines of electing a president, is there some sort of, vision that you have for the league right now that you feel maybe it was something that has been talked about before that's never come to fruition, or something that is an idea of yours that you would really like to see brought to the table for 2020 and beyond?
Through all the businesses I've been involved with through the years, which brings up a point that probably the biggest challenge of being the commissioner is, the fact that I've got multiple, as of right now, 11, which should grow here in the next 24 hours, but 11 board members that I answer to. I've never had a job in my life where I worked for somebody else. I've always been an entrepreneur and doing my own thing, and so that'll probably be my biggest challenge is not being able to make the immediate decision, and the big ones you got to go back to a board of people and get approval, and so with that, as I move forward and running the league, the vision is say through my businesses, I always pride myself in creating a culture and an environment that people wanted to be a part of. And, I look to doing the same thing here, is creating the environment and culture where people can succeed and they want to be a part of. And whether that's new expansion teams, whether that's existing teams out there, whether that's sponsors, national sponsors, the goal is to be the most attractive league. And that starts with each team being the most professional looking team that they can be. And so we got some areas we got to clean up. We got some uniform looks we got to clean up. We got some websites we got to clean up. Just your appearance. We got some people that need to clean up their appearance, and just understand you're representing a brand that we're trying to create an environment that people want to be a part of. And to do that, everybody's got to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is very well said. And obviously you have your own goals and you have people to answer to now. So it's a whole new world for the IFL moving forward to 2020. You told your wife when you wanted to be owner of the Sioux Falls Storm, just give me 3 years, and that turned into 10. How many years did you give her for this particular venture?
Well, I guess we haven't discussed that yet. we haven't discussed how many years that that this is going to go on, and I'm committed to the league, and I think I've shown that for 20 years that this is the industry I chose to be a part of, and this is the industry that I really have grown to enjoy, and I feel like I'm good at what I do, and I may get done with 1 year of this and be like, man, I got to move on to something else. That I wouldn't have got into that. I wouldn't have got into this position, thinking only 1 year. I'm thinking 3 to 5 years. What kind of when I got involved with the Storm, it was a 3-year goal, but the goal was to build a program that was nationally recognized, and we ultimately dubbed it the capital of indoor football. And that's my goal here with the league. Is take exactly what we've shown we can do with the Storm and duplicate it with inside of our league, and create our league to be. This is where, if you want to compete and you want to have fun and you want to be part of a business that you can make some money, this is the league to be a part of.
Excellent. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Clearly, you sound like a man who knows what he's doing as an entrepreneur and a business owner and a former owner of a very successful franchise. I think that the league is in very, very good hands. So, Mr. Tryon, I do thank you so much for your time. Sounds like next orders of business are to get the remaining teams across the finish line, get that schedule out, and let the the off season really get ramped up and full speed ahead. So, I wish you the very best, and thank you so much again for your time.
Hey, listen, I thank you you've done an outstanding job of covering the league, and I know it's on a volunteer basis, and we're trying to get that changed, but I thank you for all your time and effort, and you do an outstanding job.
You're the expert in this matter as far as, where you're at and entrepreneurship and things like that. But however myself and the Fan Show can help, please, by all means, don't hesitate to ask. We will certainly do what we can.
Absolutely, Richard. Appreciate it.
All right. You take care, Mr. Tryon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And one more big thank you to Todd Tryon, the now and new commissioner of the Indoor Football League. Fantastic conversation. And again, very humbled, very honored that he took the time to give the first exclusive to us here at the Fan Show. The interactions I've had with him have been outstanding, and we have a very open line of communication with each other. And I think that together, whatever the Fan Show's role is with the IFL moving forward, I think we're going to make this the league to be as far as when it comes to indoor/arena football. And I could not be more excited about that prospect. So once again, thank you, Todd. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in, everyone who tuned in live on the Facebook Live. And we're going to try to do more exclusive like that. More exclusives like that. I want to, reward you guys for always liking, sharing, and everything that you do on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. So we're going to try to kind of divvy up responsibilities here. And when there's an opportunity for an exclusive, we'll trade off. Maybe the next one will be on Twitter. But thank you guys so much again for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Again, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker.com are the ways that you can listen to the podcast on demand. And then, of course, like the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and give us a follow on Instagram as well. So until next time, it's not official unless it's Fan Show official. We are officially out of here, and we officially have a new commissioner of the Indoor Football League. So best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.